Is your child showing signs of anxiety or having problems connecting with others? Could these behaviors be actually learned from you? We will have an expert to break it down.
Big important topic here. Is your child displaying negative behavior, anxiety, mood swings, perhaps even lack of energy, lack of interest?
And we're not just talking about this holiday season, but overall. Our next guest says this can be due to behaviors that they see from you that you're not even aware of. Dannie De Novo is a happiness coach. I love that title, first of all. And you're here to tell us all about what a mirror child is. First of all, what is that term? Like, a lot of people haven't probably heard of it.
Well, you see, it wasn't that long ago I was the expert in unhappiness, and I was, living the life that I thought everyone was supposed to live, but I was miserable. But I didn't do anything to change because I didn't know how. And then I caught my 1-year-old imitating my physical behavior one day. She was, imitating mommy, and that's how babies learn. But I realized at any given moment, our children are mirroring back to us our own behavior, and we need to be aware of that because they mirror the good and they mirror the bad.
What did you notice she was doing? Like, what did you notice?
I was making dinner, and I was stirring a pot on the stove, and it was sauce, so it was very deliberate strokes. And she picked up a bowl and spoon, and she looked at me, and then she started stirring exactly like me. And she was waiting for validation, confirmation, just like mommy, which is what I said initially. But then, I realized immediately I'm teaching her how to live this miserable life, and that was not going to happen.
So she looked unhappy too, and you just thought, oh, I'm projecting on her.
Well, she was copying my every move, and she didn't know whether it was good or bad or happy or sad. She just wanted to be like mommy.
Right.
And mommy was very lonely and depressed, and now baby was going to be that way too.
So what are some questions that we should be asking ourselves? Like, what are some things that we can be aware of before we get to that point, right? What are some things that we can catch ourselves doing?
Well, one thing I like to say is watch your climate. And I really like this word because it creates a great visual for you, right? So are you the person who walks around every day with that heavy, dark rain cloud around you? Or when you walk in the room, do you light up and bring the sunshine with you? Right? You can change your attitude at any given time. So how do you greet the day? How do you start the day with your kids every day? Is it on a positive note? Or are you kind of like looking for the negative before you even get the day started?
Ooh. So what should parents do? I mean, obviously the fake facade of being happy is not reality. And sometimes, I try to be cheerful at home, for example, but there are times where I'm stressed out. And,
or tired.
Yeah, you're tired. You don't always have a happy face. And my kids do ask me, what's wrong? Why are you not happy? But it's just the reality that people do have different moods.
Well, you should be honest with your kids when they ask that question, because here's the thing, is they're great at reading our energy too. So if they ask you, why aren't you happy? And you say, oh no, mommy's happy, right? They feel that disconnect, and then they don't trust you. And when they don't trust you, they're never going to listen to anything you have to say, let alone mimic your behavior, right? At least the good parts anyway. So you want to be authentic with your emotions. It's good for them to see that range because it helps them deal with their own negative emotions. That's part of being a happy person overall. Happiness is not running around, skipping with a big smile plastered to your face all day long, right? Happiness is a sustainable state of being, and that means you're able to come back to it when the lows come in and when the highs come in, right? So you really just want to feel good most of the time and kind of try to gauge your barometer of life around that feeling.
It's also, I think, they mimic the behavior you just described. But I'm thinking of something simple, like you're telling them, stop watching TV and read more, but then you're like on your phone the whole time telling them that,
That's
right?
very difficult.
Right, and you really want to watch things too. I mean, sometimes we self-medicate in ways, so if you're, binging on sugar and they see that behavior, or you're doing worse, maybe you're drinking a little too much alcohol around certain times of the year, right? You really have to watch that because they pick up on that. They know that, mommy's doing this because she's feeling this way, and they register that. So someday in life, they may pick that out when they're not feeling so great.
So what can you do to really counter all this? Because obviously, you have to live authentically too.
It's so hard, right? So you just have to be really aware of your thoughts and your behavior all the time, which is a really difficult thing to do. But the best way to do that is to try to live your life in the present moment. And a really easy way to do that is to stop multitasking. Now, I know you're both Wonder Woman, right? And I love that. I applaud it.
Well, that's like the title for every mom, a multitasker,
right?
right?
But here you are, you're in the car, you're driving, you're texting someone back, the music's playing, you're putting on mascara, and your kids are in the back talking to you, right?
Yeah,
and I know when I do that, when I get out of the car, I can't remember how I got there. I can't remember the text message I sent. I couldn't tell you what song was on the radio. And my kid's looking at me like this, you know, like the way that I used to look at my own mom, right? So you weren't effective in any of that. And you haven't really lived your life because you haven't connected to it. So bring yourself back to the present moment. That's where happiness lives. It doesn't live in the past, and it doesn't live in the future. So don't worry about what's going to go wrong 15 years from now. All you're doing is creating anxiety for you and your child.
Sounds like we have a New Year's resolution. Live in the moment.
Yes.
Be present. Danny, thank you so much. That was great. Love chatting with you. Want to let people know that you do have a new online program which kicks off the end of January to help you multiply your happiness. For details on that, go to DannieDeNovo.com. It's a website, obviously. And with that, we'll be right back.